Hi guys, how are you today? Welcome, welcome. I miss you guys, and when I tell you guys I really love you guys, there are people that are dedicated to me. You can't imagine how many inboxes I get. I probably get anywhere from 30 to 40 inboxes a day. Some of them just give me a thumbs up, some of them appreciating, some of them asking me questions, some of them asking me too many questions, LOL. Some of them really need my help, and I know it as a prophet. I can discern it. So I make that attempt to call them for 15, 20 minutes every now and then. And I understand when Jesus said virtue went out of him. When he touched the lady and he healed that lady, and then virtue left me. What I think that meant was he got tired. He was exhausted. And I had a day like that yesterday. You know, I'm in business, but my mind is on the kingdom. God has put it and made it and set me up that my mind is on the kingdom. So everywhere I went yesterday, I was a prophet. And I'm telling you, the people I touched, God gave me the ability to indelibly mark his name on their minds. And you know, it's so great, man. I want to inspire you to get a hold of the 9 gifts of the Holy Spirit. Ask God for 3 of them immediately. And I'll tell you, you'll go into another dimension when you witness the gospel. I've watched the average Christian witness the gospel, and they're like throwing darts into areas that they shouldn't even be going in. But when you got the Holy Ghost, when you got the gifts of the Spirit, when you speak, it's like E.F. Hutton spoke. You remember E.F. Hutton back in the day, Stevie? It's like E.F. Hutton spoke back in the days. You know, when E.F. Hutton spoke, people listen. I don't know, I might be dating myself about that commercial, but my God, they were eating out of my hand. I was sitting getting my nails done. You know, I could be a pretty boy. I was getting my nails done yesterday, and I look at this lady, and she's getting her nails done, and she's intensively looking at her nails. I said, hey. She doesn't look. I said, hey. I don't know what to call her, you know. I said, lady. She finally looked over like, what are you all about? I said, let me ask you a question. Did you ever ask God when the cloud's going to lift off your mind and your head? I got her attention. Pretty lady. You know, she didn't think anybody could see it. But prophetic prophets see things. I said, my God, God's telling me, I'd say it low, that you're in turmoil. There's a turmoil. And how I see that, just as that, I see a whirlwind for a second around their head, an actual wind that goes around their head. And I said, my God, a whirlwind here. She says, my God, where have you been and where have you come from? You got my attention. As soon as she said that, I get away from the prophetic now. Now I showed off Jesus. But if I stay there, catch it to you prophetically. If I stay there, then it's about me. There were times I used to be so fancy and dancy in the prophetic that I forgot to tell them about Jesus. I'm serious. God had to tap me on the shoulder one day and say, are you doing a solo? I said, what do you mean? He said, it was all about you and what you can get. I said, oh my God. A prophet has to be seasoned. That's why I see some of these, everyone calls themselves a prophet. I'm a prophet. You've got to be seasoned. You have to have many gifts working through you. And I'll tell you something, I want to help. I'm the kind of preacher that's going to come and help people. In the beginning, I was seeing things, and the devil started to convince me, hear this, that everybody sees what I'm seeing. That this is nothing that's such a gift. Until my mentor, Bishop Anthony D'Onofrio, my closest friend, said, no, Vic, that's not true. And the devil will convince you of that. He said, and I went through that problem. He's a prophet, but he doesn't call himself a prophet. He's really an apostle. But apostles have a lot of prophetic going through them. He says, no. You see very accurately. God's giving you great eyes, Vic. And he said, even at times I come and ask you what you see. Because sometimes I respect your opinion on something. He said, so don't let the devil convince you don't have the goods. Okay, Stevie? Don't let the devil convince you that you're not so spiritual. He wants to dumb the church down. My job, you ever watch Mission Impossible? I got to say it again. You ever watch Mission Impossible? When that good-looking guy with the white hair would get up there, and he had an assignment by the Mission Impossible team, and he would get this book out, and he'd pick out photos and say, I'm going to use this one on the job. I'm going to use that pretty blonde on the job. Remember her in the show? I'm going to use this one. We're going to use Roland here, that big guy. And my God, he knew who the players were. Well, I want to tell you this. Hear me. I got to make it simple for you. God knows the players. There are a lot of things. Listen to this. I met a lady 20 years ago. I was just starting to feel I was a prophet. And this lady says, you're the kind of guy that we need to touch this dignitary. Can you imagine this? From Greece, Vic. Got a lot of money, a lot of influence. We're not interested in his money, but this is a key player for the kingdom. We want to take you with us because we think by the Spirit, they were prophets, that God would use you to go further than we could possibly go. There's my message. We have to invite people into our lives that can take it further than we can. My bishop said to me, Vic, you know, I built my church. I got to a platform as a pastor. And then they bishopized them, which is fine. And he said, I got to a place where I couldn't bring them any farther. And this is a very powerful spiritual man. He said, I couldn't bring them any farther. And God told me, look to the hills from which your help comes from. And he said, I started to study preachers. And I became friends with Kim Clement. I'd have him come in every month. I remember those days. Every month. That's why I became friends with Kim Clement. Every month, Kim would come into that church. He said, then I started to call. I became another friend, Mark Sharona. I don't know if you know these names. I brought Mark in, Vic. Then I brought Joseph Garlington in. He said, then I brought the Shuttleworths in. I don't even know if you know this name. Then I brought my own pastor, Prophet David Miner from Cottersville. He said, and before you knew it, I was able to put out a plate of good food. Good food. Yeah, I hear you, Steve. Good food. He says, and I had so those men took my ministry, that I'm the set man, I'm in charge, but I was a good delegator of what to do. He said, and I sat in every one of those meetings. I was right there so the people knew I was with them. And I'd get up and I would speak before the prophets would speak. I would speak 20 minutes, then I'd hand them the mic. I was always in charge. I always oversee. They knew I was the strength behind the ministry. My God, if churches could start to build, we're building like a bunch of Mickey Mouse people. We don't know how to build. We wind up in financial woes because we don't know how to save. We don't know how to build. So when I started to hang out with the pastors, which have rejected me in Long Island, totally rejected me. You know, one pastor recently, I said, what's the problem, brother? Very nice. Why don't we get along? We used to get along. You gave me a few meetings in your church. He said, I don't like anybody that announces they're a prophet. I said, buddy, you've seen me work in your ministry. You've seen me work. Why do I have to dumb it down? And then I'd get real practical. You're going to learn from this, guys. I know. I'm getting 300 to 700 people listening to this. I said, when you go to your doctor's office, what do you call him? By his first name? No, I call him doctor. I started going through all the worldly things that people call them by their professional name. Why, when a prophet and a pastor, it's pastor, right? But when a prophet says he's a prophet, the church backs off and says he ain't no prophet. And then we got a bunch of dummies, dummies I call them. They're preaching on the internet right now. Come into our meeting tonight on the Facebook, and we're going to teach you how to discover the false prophets. When I tell you that main prophets are doing that, I'm not talking about lightweights. They want to expose the false prophet. So I get right on and I write to them. And I wasn't going here today. I was going somewhere else that would have been a great message, and I might still do it. He says, you know, so when they tell me that, I write on their thing, We haven't seen the real prophet. Why are you exposing the people to the negative about the prophet? You know why? You're a bunch of dummies. So now when the real prophet comes in, he's got to work through all their nonsense that some old wineskin put in their head. Hear me, guys? These words are so powerful. We've got to learn. You know, when I was in business, and I'm still in business, I would say the wrong thing to the customers, the wrong thing. And I'd smack myself. And I did it for 20 years, the wrong thing. So a guy just came in the business right now, right? I gotta share it. I hope you hang in with me. He comes in, he says, you know, we have a very big landscaping business. We do about $10 million a year. That's a big company. My manager says, yeah, Vic, he whispers to me, yeah, these guys are legit, I know them. They said, but we want to work with you guys. We know you could handle our workload. We were going to another state and buying the stuff. The guy's getting old there. So I said, guys, let's cut to the chase, just like that. What do you need me to do? They said, we need you to fulfill our orders, not miss any items, make sure when it gets there it has everything. And I said, what else? They didn't say nothing. I said, come on, guys, I'm the prophet. I said, you need credit. So I asked the manager, what should we give him for credit? He said, give him $150,000. We whispered. I said, listen to me, guys. I am the nicest guy you could ever meet. But if you go over and you don't pay me on time, you're going to meet the baddest man you could ever meet. No, I don't. I'm just telling them that. I'm giving them an impression. I don't have to get out with my Jesus thing, give them the flowers. I scare the heck out of them. But I don't press those buttons. But I'm 6'8", 300 pounds, and they got the impression that we got to pay them. I said, so what do you need in time to pay? They said 60 days. I said, I do 30. He said, can you stretch it to 60? If it's 61, I'm mad. You got 60. And I said, I'm going to give you. I didn't listen to the manager. I'm going to give you $75,000 of credit. After 3 months, if those bills are paid, I'll bring it up to 150. They walked out and wanted to walk me to my car. Because I learned how to handle people. Come on, guys. We need the church, the pastors, the leadership to learn how to handle people. You know what pastors do? I go to churches. I've been to them. I get disgusted when I go. They shoot themselves in the foot in their opening statements. First of all, I don't think a church should start on a Sunday morning with all their announcements. Choir. Put them on a board. I'm telling you, if I ever built a church, but I'm not called to do it. Got to stay in my lane. But they put them all on a board. Put all your nonsense on a board. The people will read it. But my God, they want to. And you know what? After 10, 15 minutes of announcement, I'm already in a gear like they already put sleep on me. Then they get up and they don't execute. They don't know how to execute their message quickly. So they linger. And then here's a major thing. I hope Stevie's not doing this. I don't use the hallelujah. Their message. So all these people